I'm Carl Hellrick. I'm presently a professor emeritus of physics at Goshen College, which is down the road about 40 minutes from RTU, and I still maintain residency down there. I'd like to let you know a little bit about my background so that you'll know something about where I'm coming from as I explain various things in physics to you. I actually have a background in engineering. It's not physics. That always used to bother me, but it doesn't so much anymore. I'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to say a little bit about where I am now so that you can get a picture of, if you understand where I am at this time, you can get a picture then of how I got there, and maybe it makes some sort of sense. It makes sense to me in retrospect, but it is going to be a little bit of a different ride. I do biophysics at this point. I am a theoretical physicist, but I'm doing experiments in biophysics, and I also do theoretical work in biophysics. That explains a little bit about how I go about things and the sorts of interests I have in presenting some of the material to you people. Biophysics is perhaps one of the most diverse areas in all of physics. It's a mixture of biology, of course, and physics, which is not at all different from what medical physics is, except that we are more interested in the actual processes going on and trying to establish many of those at a molecular level. It's a mixture of mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics, and now that we're looking at the brain and brain processes and neurobiology and what we call neurosciences at this time, it's even gotten into psychology, and you can bring in philosophy if you want. So it's a pretty broad area. Now, as I said before, my background is engineering, and that indicates that I have an understanding, as I instruct you in some of these courses, in also applications from an engineering point of view. Sometimes that's very helpful, I feel. It gives you a chance to get a broader insight into some of what's going on. My background placed me in high school at the time Sputnik was fired by the Russians. Now that reoriented all of society basically toward let's catch up and be the first people to put something on the moon, etc. As Jack Kennedy said at one point, we're going to place a man on the moon. Unfortunately, he didn't say the next step we were going to do, but he at least wanted to consider that an objective. Now, I was in high school at that time. It didn't change me dramatically in my interests because I was already headed for aeronautical engineering. But it did orient me a little bit more toward rocketry, and eventually did change my interests into propulsion dynamics. I became very interested in combustion chambers, nozzles, the thermal dynamics of these systems and so forth than I was actually in flight. So I took this course, this pathway into engineering, and have both a bachelor's degree in engineering and a PhD from Northwestern in engineering. Now, funny things happen if you consider engineering as a career, and that is you can orient yourself in a lot of different directions and often end up in an area which looks much more like physics than engineering, which is precisely what I did. I became rather interested in my career as a student in microscopic things. I was very interested in dynamics of molecules and ultimately the ionized gas, which in physics is called the plasma. It has nothing to do with blood. It's the fully ionized gas, and it's what it makes up stars and so forth. I became interested in this and ended up studying plasma physics, theoretical plasma physics, for my PhD, although that was supported by an engineering department. So my gamut of degrees is the bachelor's degree in straight engineering and the PhD actually in plasma physics. Beyond that, I've spent a lot of time, most of my time I should say, in academic teaching. Initially, right out of the PhD, I got an appointment at the University of Tennessee Space Institute. This was an ambitious program, it's still in existence, of the University of Tennessee out in Middle Tennessee, near the Arnold Engineering Development Center. The University of Tennessee Space Institute included a few of the graduate departments from the University of Tennessee main campus, and a lot of our work was basically on propulsion, on advanced systems for energy production, material sciences, and other space-related programs. From the University of Tennessee, I went to Germany, somewhat of a lark. We had the opportunity, because of my searching for a postdoc at one point, we had the opportunity to pick up stakes, so to speak, and go to a laboratory, a main government laboratory, in a very small town in Germany between Cologne and Aachen. The town is called Jülich, and it was called the Nuclear Research Center when I was there. At Jülich, I spent my first time as a plasma physicist, but then at one point in my career at Jülich, I realized that I wanted to pursue biology, and there was a department, an institute of neurobiology on the campus there at Jülich. So I took the hike across the campus and talked to the director over there, who asked me, "Can you do chemical kinetics?" I'd never done chemical kinetics in my life, but I told him, yes, I think I can, because I understand some of the rudiments of it, and I do thermodynamics, and I do this, that, and the other. So yes, I think I could do chemical kinetics. And we were looking at the chemical kinetics of rhodopsin in the eye. That's the visual pigment in the eye. This set me on an entirely new career, and since that time, I have been working in basically biophysics. I ended up spending a year in Jülich doing biophysics. It was my final year at the laboratory in Jülich, and I was funded by another pocket than what I had been initially funded by as a plasma physicist. I was funded by what was called the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft, which is like NSF of Germany. In coming back to this country, though, I took another angular turn, if you will, and I think this is honest to you people as my potential students or present students. I am a Mennonite, which has a little bit to say about how I encounter my religion and how I deal with it, or it deals with me. I spent a period of my life in intentional community, Mennonite communities, and I came back from Jülich to such a Mennonite community in central Illinois, where I worked as a pole barn builder. You have to have a PhD to be able to build good pole barns. And I also took a new turn in my life into art. Art was once the family profession, and I picked it up again and began to develop myself as an artist. My final years at the fellowship in Illinois were spent establishing myself as an artist in the Illinois Valley. But this new career, which I found very enjoyable, got shortchanged a little bit when I got a call from a college in Kansas. And they wanted me back in physics. So I went. I reoriented myself again into the profession I'd left behind, and the last part of my career, now from the middle 70s, when I went to Bethel College in Kansas to take over the physics department there, until very recently when I moved from Goshen College to my period here at RTU. I spent in small colleges teaching physics. Now, this has advantages to teach at small colleges. It means that you have more contact with students. It means that you have more opportunity to develop what you want to. You're not under the gun to continue to present courses exactly the way they had been presented and was determined by a larger university. So I used this time in my life to develop some of what I think are first-class courses. You people are taking some of those courses or will take those courses from me. These courses, at least at this time, 3 of them have produced or are producing textbooks. My publisher is Springer Verlag, which is a German publishing concern they say for themselves that they are the language of science. Springer has published my thermodynamics text. That's the one I use in thermodynamics here at RTU. Springer has published my classical field theory text, which is the one I use for electricity and magnetism here at RTU. And I'm presently writing a book in analytical mechanics, which will probably become a course in our Bachelor of Science degree program here at RTU. In addition to teaching, which is what you normally think of as academia, although academia involves doing research, and I do that. I've also been involved in outside laboratories, in addition to the German laboratory that I mentioned before. That was, of course, my major laboratory experience and went on for a number of years. While a student, actually while a graduate student, I did spend a couple of summers at Oak Ridge. Now, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which was a secret city during World War II, part of the Manhattan Project, and actually the headquarters for the Manhattan District, was my hometown. I moved in there when the city was first being formulated or formed and put in the ground when I was a fairly small child, and wound up actually working at the Y12 plant and then at X10, which is the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. So I spent summers in the laboratories at Oak Ridge, which is good as part of your development. And then while I was at the University of Tennessee Space Institute, I spent time at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. At Marshall, I was working on comets. Part of my role as a plasma physicist. We were interested in comets as these entities which were involved in the formulation of the universe, if you will, some of the most ancient parts of the original universe that we have out there. And we had this illusion of sending a rocket to make a rendezvous with a comet. Well, that's become more something we're going to do, and I think we've done it more recently, but at that time the people that did it were the Russians. And our program got canceled. But I was interested at that point in the lighting of the comet, because this is not a simple problem. If you do the energy balance, it's not trivial how you're going to pump that much energy into the comet from the solar wind coming off the sun. Very interesting plasma physics, very interesting stuff to do. The Space Sciences Laboratory at Huntsville. Exciting summer. I am officially retired from Goshen College. I'm an emeritus professor, still with a rank there, and I have an office there, and I do research there in biophysics, but a lot of my effort is here at RTU, where I'm not yet retired.
Hi there, I'm Brock South. I've been in the field of medical physics since about 2008. It's a good 4 years now. And I've been a physicist, considered myself one pretty much ever since I was in high school and learned what physics was. There's really a couple of different kinds of questions that as a medical physicist you get from pretty much everybody, whether they're in the field of healthcare or outside of the field of healthcare, and it's, what exactly do you do again? And how did you get into that? A lot of people sit and they say, well, I got into it because I knew somebody in the field, or whatever reasons they have. I got into it, and I think I have a pretty decent little story about this, if I do say so myself. When I was a little physicist, when I was a junior in college, right about the time when a physicist says to himself, okay, what am I going to do for the rest of my career? I didn't really know. I had whole fields of research open in front of me. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a concentration. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I was reading an article about a device called the Therac 25, which was a radiation therapy device. It was a linear accelerator that killed several people. And I was reading the article about the disaster, about the response of the industry to it, about the response of healthcare to it. And I was reading specifically about the hospital physicist. That was the person who was investigating the problem, what had happened, what the consequences for the people involved was going to be. Keep in mind, at this time, I knew nothing about medical physics. I didn't know anything about dose. I didn't know anything about, in fact, my exposure to radiation science in general was pretty limited to what I'd seen in my junior course on nuclear science. And that was pretty limited. And I'm reading this article and I come across these words, hospital physicist, and I say to myself, I wonder what that is. And I go and do some research, and I find out that a physicist can make a difference in the life of an individual who has a terrible illness. And not by doing some research in some field which needs to be done, which wasn't maybe necessarily what I wanted to do, to say, all right, in 25 years, someone will make a product based off of this, and that'll be great. A physicist, somebody with a specific kind of knowledge, and the kind of knowledge that I had and would like to develop, can make a difference in a person's life today. I can go out into the world of healthcare and look at some person who has cancer and say, hey, I can help treat your cancer. And when I figured that out, I thought, hey, that's pretty neat. And that's what I want to do with my life. And that's how I got into the field of medical physics. How I got involved with RTU, I've been involved with RTU since the beginning. When I was just a little physicist, a little medical physicist, let's say, doing my internship, I worked closely with Brent. And he came to me one day and basically said, hey, I'm starting a school. And I said, okay. And he said, hey, you want to be a part of it? And I said, yeah, I do. Ever since I was a little physicist, I thought of physics outreach, of the teaching of physics, as one of the most important things that a physicist of any flavor, of any color, of any type can do to bring his specific knowledge to the world at large, to make it relevant. Because what good is all the physics in the world if the average person doesn't know anything about it, I think. Physics education isn't important just for physicists. Physicists have a duty as a member of a greater community to bring that knowledge to people, whether it's people who want to get into this field, or whether it's people who just want to know a little bit more about physics, or whether it's the people who don't know physicists, they don't know physicists from physicians from a hole in the ground. And I'm not being facetious. I think that every person could benefit from at least a cursory knowledge of physics. It doesn't matter if they're a radiation therapy patient. It doesn't matter if they have a cousin who's a physicist. It doesn't matter if they've never heard the word physics in their life. I think it's one of those things that every person, knowing just a little bit more about, it can't possibly hurt them. And so I've always been committed to physics education for physicists, for non-physicists, for people in the field of medical physics, for people in the healthcare field, for people outside of the field, and for just everyday people. For the teaching of physics, for the teaching of how a physicist thinks about a problem, the teaching of specific principles of physics, for really the teaching of what I do as a physicist, as a medical physicist, as a scientist, as a member of my community, of teaching what I do to people, not only so they understand better what I do and the contribution that I have to their care, the contribution I have to the greater field of physics, the contributions that I make to healthcare, the contributions that I make to the collective human knowledge, if I can use a term that sounds as silly as that one. But really, I think it's important for people not only to understand what I do, but to understand how it impacts their life, directly, indirectly, to understand what's going on in the world around them a little bit better. And the teaching of physics and the learning of physics, I think, is one of the greatest ways a person can really begin to appreciate what's going on around them. Not for any specific reason, not for any high-minded goals, but just because it makes them a better person. They can talk to their kids about why the sky is blue. They can talk to their cousin getting radiation therapy about what's going on in their body, and their cousin will understand it a little bit better, maybe be a little less afraid of what's happening. Radiation is a big, scary word for pretty much everybody. And for people who are getting radiation, it's a really big, scary word. And if everybody learned and knew a little bit more about what was going on in their body when it was happening, in their cousin's body when they're getting the radiation therapy, in their mother's body when she's getting the radiation therapy, I think that just makes everyone a little bit better able to understand themselves, their relationship with that person, the relationship with that person's doctor, the person coordinating their care, and really more about what's going to happen to that person that's important in their life, and what's going to happen to them, selfishly, as that person undergoes their care. I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't think there's any reason why any individual person can't learn a little bit more about what's happening to them, their loved ones, or people they don't think about. There's more to physics than just radiation physics. There's more to life than just radiation therapy. And I think that even somebody as specifically trained as a medical physicist can make a difference in the lives of the community at large by just teaching what they know, by just getting their ideas and their word out there so that everybody, so that people inside the field, outside the field, are a little more knowledgeable. I think that's really one of the most important things a medical physicist or any physicist can really be doing with his life, is teaching.
Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Russert. I'm a medical physicist and an instructor here at RTU in the AS to BS program for medical dosimetry. And I'd just like to quickly tell you a little bit about myself and how I got involved in the field. Probably not the most traditional route into the field, as I really didn't even decide or even really know about the career path until I had already finished my undergrad. My undergrad was in basic pre-med biology with a minor in chemistry and a minor in German. And following graduation, I went to work in a molecular biology lab at the Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, Illinois. I got my undergrad from the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. And after about a year working in that lab, I decided to actively research other options for a career. And as it turns out, my mother is a radiation therapist, and for whatever reason, being the ungrateful child that I was, I had never really learned much about her career. And it was at that time that she started to, talk to me and say, hey, you should really learn more about what I do because it's really cool and I think you would be very good at it. So, at that time I basically visited her at work and got to meet some of the dosimetrists and physicists and physicians that she worked with, and kind of started informal job shadowing for a short period of time, only a few days here and there, just to see if this really was something that I wanted to pursue. And it was at that time that I started looking for graduate programs to become a medical physicist. As I said earlier, I had a little bit of catch up to do because I didn't have the most traditional path, so I had to at that time basically go to community college and take a number of physics courses in order to be accepted into my graduate program. I had taken the general physics courses in my undergrad as required for pre-med, but I hadn't taken quantum mechanics, electricity, magnetism, nuclear physics, and all those wonderful classes. I was able to find a few of them at community colleges, and then I basically was accepted a program conditioning that I could pass those courses, and they were actually able to create an extra course in some undergraduate courses because there were other graduates who needed to fill in those gaps as well in order to basically start the program. So it was at that point that I, fully enrolled in Chicago at Rosalind Franklin University, which is no longer running a physics program. Unfortunately, the demand and the changes in the field with accreditation and those things were not something that department wanted to develop. So unfortunately, they have closed their doors, and now it's just basically just a medical school. But there was an adjunct medical physics program for a period of about 10 years in Chicago. And from my experience, the majority of the physicists in the Chicago area had came from that program, and that's who I was job shadowing, and that's how I found out about that program. And a lot of them were actually instructors there, so I was able to basically preview the program and find out if it was right for me. So my master's program was 2 years. Following that, I began to actively search for employment, and as something that I had found when I was in school was I really did like giving presentations and giving talks and preparing lectures, and I was interested in education, so one of the things I started doing was looking for how I could combine the two. And my first job in the field was actually working for Brain Lab in the Chicago area in their education department, basically creating a course to train physicians in how to use their iPlan software. And that was a very exciting position. Unfortunately, I didn't stay there very long because a more exciting position came along, which was a residency in medical physics with Global Physics Solutions, which at the time had a lot of affiliation with RTU. Unfortunately, we kind of professionally, they're distinct companies now, and they're not overlapping as much as they did when I was hired as a resident. But we maintain a lot of close contacts just through networking, and so through the residency, I was spending a lot of time at RTU training with physicists in the South Bend area, and that was the basic jumping off point where I learned about the RTU program, and Brent was at that time talking about creating a medical dosimetry program, and I was very interested in pursuing my passion of education, with that program. So, basically, while I was a resident, I started working at RTU and preparing and creating some courses, and I've found it to be a very challenging and very rewarding experience. So if you are looking at joining our program, or if you are an active enrolling in the program and starting up, I'm very excited that you've chosen to enter our field. For whatever reason, however you found this field, I'm glad you did, because it's a very exciting field, and we need, there is a demand for people who have a passion for, not only helping people but also advancing our field, and so I really hope to be a part of your career path and starting off as either a medical dosimetrist or a medical physicist. Look forward to meeting some of you at the RTU campus. I'm definitely always around at the boot camps, and quite frequently here for other reasons and other purposes. So welcome to RTU. I hope you're excited to start this new adventure, and I look forward to seeing you on campus. Take care.
Hello, my name is Scott Dube, and I'm an instructor for RTU. I'm a medical physicist with 32 years of clinical experience. I got my master's degree back in 1980 at the University of Colorado, and I spent many years in Honolulu where I met Brent Murphy. So when Brent was starting RTU, I was really flattered that he asked me to be one of the instructors, and I greatly enjoy what I do here. I bring a lot of clinical experience and practical experience in radiation oncology, as well as nuclear medicine and radiology and radiation safety. And it's all experience-based, it's all work experience-based. And so I think that is something important I can bring to you as you prepare for a career in medical physics. I gotta say though, as much as I'm motivated to provide training so that you'll have a successful career, another motivation for me in doing these courses is that I learn so much and I relearn so much in trying to prepare this for you. And also, I get a lot of satisfaction. There's a saying, it's never too late to have a good childhood. Well, in my case, it's never too late to have a good academic experience. I wasn't necessarily the best student back in the day, and not all of my instructors were necessarily the best instructors for many reasons. And as I approach these courses, I really try to think, if I were a student, what would I want to hear? And based on my experience working in the field, what do I wish someone had told me early on that would have carried me through, through the challenges of being a medical physicist more successfully. And so I really put a lot of thought into what I think you need to know to do a good job in a clinical setting. And I hope it comes through, and I guess time will tell whether I've been successful. But it's just been a real privilege and a pleasure to be part of the RTU experience, and I welcome feedback, and I'm glad to be here. You should join us. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Manuel Areola. I have a PhD in medical physics from the University of Florida, and I have joined the RTU family recently, and I was asked to give you a brief summary of my professional career and experience. I completed my bachelor's degree majoring in physics, and actually doing my bachelor's thesis at the Metropolitan University in Mexico City. And my thesis was in lasers. I actually was part of the team that built some of the first lasers in Mexico back in those days. I'm not going to tell you how long ago. Then I had the opportunity to come to the United States and enroll at the State University of New York at Buffalo, where I did my master's work, again majoring in physics. And this time my research work was in nuclear magnetic resonance under the guidance of Dr. Jonathan Reichert. And I did some work on ESR and NMR at low temperatures. And that's where I learned a lot about low temperature issues and superconductivity and cryogens, and more than anything about NMR theory and experimental work. And as it turned out to be, among the group of friends that I had in Buffalo, which is a city that I enjoyed a lot, and to this day I'm a firm Buffalo Bills fan, no matter what. And this particular friend is a radiologist in one of the major hospitals in Buffalo. And one time, as we were at some party or some barbecue, he asked me what is it that I was doing for my research. And when I told him that I was doing research in magnetic resonance, he said, "Oh, you should come talk to the physicist in our hospital." And of course my response was, "There's a physicist working in the hospital?" So to make the story short, he gave me a tour of the department, and I actually never had a chance to talk to the physicist there. But what this did was that it all of a sudden brought the field of medical physics in front of my eyes. And that goes along with the story that I frequently tell, that one of these evenings on a weekend that I was doing my research and my MR experiments, I was patiently waiting for the RF amplifier to sweep the range of frequencies that I needed to do for the sample that I was testing in particular. And just looking at the plotter, just drawing this flat line for half an hour, 40 minutes, until finally the resonance line would come up, and then it would go back flat again for another 10 or 20 minutes, made me realize that that's not what I wanted to do professionally for the rest of my life, or personally, as a matter of fact. So these two things happened at about the same time, these two events. And I happened then to apply to the graduate medical physics program at the University of Florida. And there I then, within 6 months, I realized that medical physics was what I was looking for, because that would enable me to do work that would have a direct and true immediate benefit to other lives, in this case the life of the patients. As I was then faced with the choice of radiation therapy physics and diagnostic imaging physics, I was quickly drawn by imaging, because I could see that a huge explosion in technology was coming. There was, of course, a lot of research going, and the major modalities had already been developed and implemented clinically by then. Helical CT and MRI with fast sequences, and ultrasound and Doppler. And it was the first days, of course, of CR and DR in radiography. DSA had already been around for 10 years or so. And And I decided to go into then diagnostic medical physics. And it's what I love to do. I work under Dr. Larry Fitzgerald and graduated with a PhD from the University of Florida, as I said. I went then on to my first job in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I had the opportunity and the privilege to work with Dr. Harvey Neiman, who's now the actual executive director of the American College of Radiology, has been for many years. And he was the chairman of the radiology department at the Western Pennsylvania Hospital, which is where we worked. And within 3 months of joining the medical physics staff there, he appointed me as chief of radiation physics and radiation oncology, which is one of the most interesting things in my career, because by appointing me like that, a diagnostic physicist was put as the supervisor and immediate boss of a bunch of radiation therapy physicists. So I was there for 5 years, and Dr. Neiman is the one that I consider my true mentor. He was the one who allowed me to make lots of mistakes and showed me what is it that I need to do, and the things that I should do and the things that I shouldn't do. Gave me my start in the administrative part of the work. And then at some point in time, in the early 2000s, the position of chief of diagnostic physicist at the University of Florida opened up. And of course, I thought I had no chance, so just for the sake of it, I sent my application, and before I knew, I was back in Gainesville, and where I have taken the division of diagnostic imaging physics to be 1.5 FTE full-time physicists and 1.5 FTEs of graduate assistants to what it is now, which is 4 FTE PhDs in diagnostic physics, all of them certified by the American Board of Radiology, and with 7 or more years of experience, everyone. And 3 diagnostic residents. We started the diagnostic resident program about a year ago. And a large group of graduate students and graduate assistants performing research that is unique in the field of diagnostic imaging and dosimetry in diagnostic imaging. I came about RTU as a result of my better half joining RTU as a student a few months ago, and now I am here developing the diagnostic track for the graduate medical physics program, and developing the diagnostic residency, and trying to help RTU grow in the way that it needs to grow. So that's, to put it in a short way, what I have done professionally. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Scott Mitchell. I'd like to take just a couple seconds and tell you a little bit about my background and how I came to work with RTU. My undergraduate preparation was in physics, and then I went to graduate school in mathematics. Went to the U.S. Army Tripler Medical Center and worked as a medical health physicist for a couple of years, and then followed that with a period of time for both the Army Reserve and National Guard, doing industrial health physics, radioactive commodity management, etc., for licensing. I worked at a clinic for a couple of years at a community hospital, doing a spectrum of normal physics services, therapy, diagnostic, radiation safety, nuclear medicine, etc. And enjoyed that very well. Went on to do treatment planning for a radiation treatment planning company and have been doing that for 8, 9 years now, and have spent a good amount of time doing both algorithmic development and maintenance for treatment planning software, new functionality, requirements management, product management, just a variety of services that are normally part of planning and supporting treatment planning software. A couple of years ago, maybe not even that long, maybe a year or so ago, I came to teach math courses for RTU, and this is a very unique environment to be able to convey information, to be able to remotely deliver medical physics instruction, dosimetry instruction. I'm very pleased to be able to be a part of this endeavor, and hope that you'll enjoy the coursework, enjoy the delivery system and mechanism that is in place. Thank you.
I am Dr. Eliana Brescu, an associate professor to West University of Timișoara, and currently I am serving Radiological Technology University. Also, I am joining of Energy Materials Telecommunications Research Center from Institut National de la Recherche Scientifique from Quebec in Canada. And here I am joining through Alexandra Graham Bell Canada Fellowship. My degrees are in mathematics, so I finished PhD in mathematics in West University of Timișoara in 2002. Then master in applied mathematics at the same university, and the bachelor in mathematics in 1991. My academic positions are the following. In the first years between 1991 and 1999, I was mathematics teacher in secondary and high schools in Romania. After that, since 1999, I started my activity at the university level. First, I was teaching assistant professor to Technical University of Timișoara in Romania. Then, between 2003 and 2004, I was lecturer in the same university. And since 2004, I moved to West University of Timișoara as senior lecturer first, and then I'm in the present I'm associate professor in this university. Also, since 2012, I'm joining of Radiological Technology University. My teaching experience at the university level, in this case, I designed the lectures to serve students in engineering, physics, mathematics, and computer science. I taught seminars and courses on linear algebra, affine and Euclidean geometry, differential geometry, calculus 1 and 2, and complex analysis to undergraduate students in engineering. Also, I taught differential and partial differential equations, mechanics, discrete dynamical systems, numerical analysis, and geometry at the undergraduate level for mathematicians, computer scientists, and physicians in both English and Romanian languages. After I taught courses on mathematical models for crystal growth from the melt and mathematical models in biology, chemistry, ecology, and medicine, and qualitative theory of differential equations at the postgraduate level. Also now I'm teaching courses on advanced statistical analysis at the postgraduate level. My research interests are in two areas, continuum modeling and atomistic modeling. Regarding continuum modeling, here I'm very interested about differential equations, nonlinear models in applied sciences, control theory, stability, and the domains of attraction. The main work in this part of differential equations and nonlinear models in applied sciences were published in this book, Region of Attractions and Applications to Control Theories, in 2008 in Cambridge Scientific Publishers. Then I continue modeling of bulk materials with qualitative and numerical studies, concerning the control and determination of optimal growth process parameters. The main results in this area are published, of course, in journals leading journals from the field, but also in the book Microcomputer Modeling of Growth Processes in Single Crystal Sheets and Fibers, co-authors together with Professor T.F. George from University of Missouri, St. Louis, and Professors Agneta Balint, Laszlo Nanai, and Stefan Balint from Europe. This book was published in Nova Science Publishers in 2008. Recently, together with international experts in crystal growth, I contributed to the book Crystal Growth Process based on capillarity. And here I wrote a chapter, Mathematical and Numerical Analysis of Capillarity Problems and Processes. This book was published recently in 2010 in John Wiley and Sons. Also, Handbook on Crystal Growth, which was published in Springer in the same year. Here is a new chapter in which I worked together with Professor T.F. George and my PhD former Professor Balint. Also, mathematical modeling of blood coagulation system and bone growth in dental endosteal implantation. It was and is important for me and a real interest. And in this area, I published a chapter in the book Computational Studies New Material 2. And here there is a chapter, New Direct Thrombin Inhibitors and their computed effect on the dynamics of thrombin formation in blood coagulations. This was published in 2011 in World Scientific Publishers. Concerning atomistic modelings, here this is a recent field. I'm doing modeling of the thin film surface growth and atomistic level, and the control during the thin growth and the density functional theory. All this period of since I finished my studies and I started to make research, I published papers in very important journals from our field. For example, from Crystal Growth, we have Journal of Crystal Growth. This is the best journal from our area. Then I published in Computational Material Science, Journal of Engineered Mathematics, Nonlinear Studies, Material Science and Engineering, Optical Materials, Journal of Material Science, and Journal of College and the Interface Science. Regarding my international collaborations, one important collaborator is Professor T.F. George from University of Missouri from St. Louis. And he is expert in detectors and sensors and nanoscience and nanotechnology, laser physics and nonlinear optics. We joined together through a NATO grant in which we were both principal investigators. This grant is evaluation and control of impurities in rapid detection sensors. Other important international collaboration is with Grenoble Institute of Technology in France, electromagnetic processing of materials laboratory. Here we join of expertise of Professor Thierry Dufar, which is working in crystal growth, and he developed the weighting process on the earth. And here we had together bilateral research projects between Romania and France, mathematical and computational modeling of crystal growth processes. Thank you.